According to a recent article published by Professor Donna Hope, children or grandchildren of abandoned, homeless, elderly people are obligated by law to take care of their family members. Now, is this law functioning, and what does it say about a society that needs laws to force us to care for the vulnerable? We discuss these topics and more with attorney at law, Suzanne Risden-Foster. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Smile
Yes,
Jamaica. It's
yes.
morning time. So I'm just going to start there, Suzanne. Is there a law?
There is a law.
Okay.
There is a law. It's Section 10 of the Maintenance Act, which was enacted in 2005. It is just a small section, but luckily it is also connected to other sections in terms of enforceability.
Okay, and what does the act
The
say?
Act basically says, as a general theme, where there is a dependency or the person is considered in need of help, in the instance where it is an elderly person or a grandparent, the grandchildren or the children are obliged to maintain them. The difficulty is the parent or grandparent is often very elderly, and to make the application is a little hard on them. But there are a few cases, but not many. It's rarely ever used.
You say this is a problem.
It's a problem.
Is it that the law doesn't have teeth? Are we not holding people accountable?
I think they're not holding people accountable, and then I think it's a question of getting to the court, which should not be a problem. You don't need a lawyer to go to a court, but it helps. It does help. And secondly, for the few cases I gather that have gone through, it's been settled usually.
Yeah.
You know.
We hear stories all the time about folks who leave their loved ones in hospitals.
They do. Or
in nursing homes
yes.
at Bellevue.
Yes.
There's also the argument that people have that you should not expect a child's job is not to take care of their parent, and it's unfair and unreasonable.
I tend to have that philosophy. My children are not a pension fund, but it is something expected. That is a reality. But the sad thing is, well, for a number of them, the flip side is they don't believe, why should I take care of a father, say, who was never a part of my life? And in fact, I understand, will basically say, I'd rather go to jail. You have a few instances there, just headbend. He wasn't there for mommy, wasn't there for me.
So how is that looked at in the court? The court still holds you to that obligation?
They do, and there are strong teeth. You can actually go to prison.
So there are no extenuating circumstances at all?
Well, the court does have some factors. The justice of the case said that the judge will look at whether this person, the kind of relationship they had as parent and child, and it's not just a question of biological, it's what they will say, I want a DNA test, where were you all my life?
Oh my God. Wow. And if that DNA test proves to be positive, have you seen cases where people have actually been relieved of that obligation or that responsibility?
No. As I said, there are very few cases. In fact, there are no reported cases, because it's at a magistrate's level. The challenge would have to be, the next step would be the Court of Appeal. I haven't seen any. It's usually between spouses or children and parents, which is a joint responsibility.
So what if I'm in a community?
Yes.
I notice that someone who is elderly
Yes.
is not being taken care
Yes.
of, but I know who their children are, or
Yes.
their grandchildren.
Yes.
Can I bring the attention of the courts or the police to the matter to say to them, this needs attention?
I think there may be a move afoot to have that community effort to help the two parents, or where it is, they're sometimes on the street, many parts of downtown, or abandoned in a home. The applicant under the act is normally the person who is the dependent, but they do have provision for persons who are in various organizations.
Because in the case of the elderly, where we're seeing issues of dementia,
yes,
and so on, where
Yes.
they themselves
they don't know.
are not able to say, this is what is happening to me.
That is
That's
correct.
what I wanted to know.
That's a serious matter. I think the law may need to be amended to take care of that.
Yes.
Because there also is a Mental Health Act, which allows, it's a separate regime altogether. But in terms of financial responsibility, I think there needs to be some further adjustments to the act to allow for persons in communities, the hospitals, to be the applicant and help these people who were abandoned for many years.
Yeah.
How does the mental health?
The Mental Health Act would require a relative, as in close relative, not even overseas, must be in this country. They listed a number of blood relatives who can apply, but it's very strict. You have to show the person is no longer in control of their faculties, doctor's evidence. The court is very vigilant that you're not taking advantage of somebody.
Because how do you protect their assets? Because I've seen cases, not seen, I've heard of cases where children have abandoned their parents.
Yes.
And this is the parent who owns a home, who has worked all their life, and they
Correct.
have their assets. But the children want the assets and the parents
They
anyway,
were mysterious,
and they just push out the
or
parent.
they appear on the...
Put them out.
Put them out,
That
yes.
does happen.
Put them out.
There have been a number of reported cases where children do take advantage. In the half-day state or dementia, they have them sign over home.
Right.
And the courts will set aside those transactions as long as there's no person that doesn't realize. But they are aware. Somebody will step in the shoes of the person who's been affected mentally or who has dementia.
Which cases do you see more? The elderly trying to get the care, or the...
A combination of the combination of the both elderly and maybe dementia. But in the average family law case, it's never usually the elderly. It's spouses, children, that kind of thing.
Wow.
Let me tell you.
I've never done a case where the man is claiming maintenance, but that's allowed too.
Let me tell you something. I went to a function, and I don't remember if it was the Custos who said to the people in the room,
Yes.
you like to say, I'm going to have a whole heap of picnic or picnic and my pension, and I'm inviting you to walk over to the infirmary
Yes.
and see
The abandoned.
the abandoned in the infirmaries and ask them
Yes.
how many children
They're not there
did they
Christmas,
have.
they're not there.
So
Right,
what we're
yeah.
discussing really is a serious
It's
matter.
a very serious, because we know there are more older people than...
People are living longer.
Yeah, they're living
Right,
longer,
correct.
much longer.
Yeah.
So if there's somebody who's watching this, or somebody who knows of somebody who's watching this who wants to figure out what to do as an elderly person to get the care that they need from those who should be, quote unquote, responsible by the law, what do they do?
They can go to a family court or a magistrate's court in the parish which has a family division and make an application, or they can retain the services of an attorney at law. But the idea of a family court or resident magistrate's court, parish court, is that you don't necessarily have to incur the expense of an attorney.
Right, because I was just going to say that, the wherewithal to do that, if you are homeless or you don't have nothing, you
Yes,
can't
a
really
gentleman on the
afford.
walk by the harbour who was, just before Christmas, he was sleeping on the...
Payment.
Yeah, the son was interviewed. He said he's quite happy there.
Wow.
The gentleman is happy.
There was just there, if he turned over, he'd been in the harbour, and he's been there for years.
Wow.
But they did a full interview with the community, the children. He just didn't want to move.
That is his home. So you have those cases?
Yes,
as
you
well?
do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, this is a really
It is.
eye-opening interview.
Maybe they need to have more sort of retirement scheme homes, communities that they
They
have in
need to
Florida.
start looking
yeah.
at that because there are more people who are living longer.
Yes.
So, as you said, Florida is a kind of a retirement
Yes.
state.
Yes.
And maybe we need to start
Yeah.
looking at creating spaces,
We do.
Where
I think there are one or
seniors
two
can-
homes, but not many.
not many.
No.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Thank you so much for
Thank you so much.
elucidating this issue.
Yes, a very
for us.
serious issue,
It
yeah.
is. It is. Attorney at Law Suzanne Risden-Foster. Girl Talk is next. You don't want to miss this because Valentine's Day is Friday. And
Can I miss it?
we have some we have some advice for you that you really know already, but we're going to remind you. Soon come.